Hi everyone, it's Jama Malmy here, excited to be back after a long break, and I'm going to show you how to create this cute birthday layout based on Christmas products. So I'm part of a new design team called Creative Design Team, which is a group of very talented, other close to my heart consultants, and we're going to do video collaboration hops each month. And our theme this month is Holidays Reimagined, where we are showing you how to stretch your holiday supplies, whether it's Christmas or another holiday, and use it in a way that's not for that intended holiday. So I'm using a variety of supplies, starting out with this Cricut layout, which is from Close to My Heart's latest Cricut collection called Complete Creativity, and I've done lots of videos with this collection. I just love it, and here is another way to alter it and make it your own. So I thought that I would do a little Cricut Design Space tutorial to show you how I went about changing this, and I'm leaving that original layout off to the right so you can see how it changes along the way. I'm doing some slicing. You saw me slice the background of the present away from the candy cane. I deleted all those white elements because I didn't need them. They were more winter themed. I deleted some of the more girly elements like the doily and the bow, creating more of a boyish layout here. Added some text, the number 3, to replace the 25. I'm adding a candle here from another Cricut cartridge, and I will be duplicating that to be 3 candles for the 3rd birthday. And I'm going to leave them white because I'm going to make the flame colored with some alcohol markers. I am duplicating some other elements like the stars and the hearts and scattering them around and changing colors as I decide what colors are in the photos to match the photos that I'm going to be using from my son's 3rd birthday. And I kept the integrity of the kind of shape and design of this layout, but made it my own. So you'll see here in a minute how I went about creating this layout. Okay, so I've got everything cut out, and this is what it looks like. I did use 2 papers from the Holly Jolly collection, which is the Christmas collection. So I wanted to show you how to use those in a non-Christmas way. So if you remember what the layout looks like, here is the green circle is here. The back of the paper is these cute little presents, and so that's very Christmassy, but this side is not super Christmassy. And then this tag as well, it's going to go down here. That is, well, there's just green gingham on the back, and it works lovely all paired together in this Christmas paper packet, but this is not necessarily Christmassy. And then I also use that pattern paper to cut this little border. I was going to use just regular cardstock for this, but I actually was out of the Clover cardstock, so I decided to use the same patterned paper. I found some glitter paper in my scrap pile because it was left over from my Christmas cards. For the yellow paper, I went with just cardstock because they were little pieces. Now I cut this out twice because I wasn't sure if I wanted just cardstock or a pattern, because I liked this pattern paper. This is from the I Heart Us collection from over the summer, or almost a year ago maybe even. And so the back is these stripes, and I had some of this left over, and I thought this looked a little birthday-ish, but it might be a little bit too busy, especially with this cut. So I might mix them, or I might just go with the cardstock. And then the wish came out of each of these, and so I'm just gonna set those aside for another project, and whatever of these I don't use, I will set aside for another project as well. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I also wanna point out, I keep my little iPad mini in front of me with my Design Space file up just as reference. I set my iPad so that it basically just the screen doesn't turn off, so no matter what, I don't have to keep pressing the button and making it show up again. So there we have it. I'm gonna go ahead and put this together, and I hope you enjoy. I'm going to start off by putting my photos down. I decided to cut them a little smaller than 3x3 and use those white photo mats that came with the cut file. And then this little thin border is a little tricky to glue down. I used my Tombow mono glue and very lightly squeezed out just little dots. I have been liking the mono glue for doing the detail cuts because it stays wet a little bit longer than liquid glass, but you just have to be careful not to squeeze out too much. Now, this star sort of asterisk paper is from the mix-in pack that matches along with the jingle, or what's it called, the Holly Jolly paper that I used. I originally thought that I wanted it to be my background, but I did try to dull down the busy background with some gesso. And gesso is basically like watered down acrylic paint. And then I used my shimmer brush to add some black sparkle shimmers. I accidentally got a big old splatter there, which didn't bother me too much because I figured I could cover it up with an embellishment. But I end up not using this as my main background anyway because it was just too busy with those red asterisks and the splatters. It was too much going on to compete with the design of the layout. So I'm showing you what I did here, but then I'm going to end up covering it all up. But gesso is a good way to kind of dull down a background if you want it dulled down a little bit. And then the other thing it does is when you do splatter on it, the splatters don't soak into the paper, whether you're using a shimmer brush or paint or whatever. It sits on top of the gesso and shows its true color rather than soaking into the paper. So here I'm using my acrylic or my alcohol markers to color the flames. I'm using lots of different colors. Each time I do a darker color, I'm then going over it to blend it with the lighter color. I am not an expert colorer. I just kind of know some basics. I've watched a lot of videos and these were so simple to do. So I just left one flame on there for you to watch, but I did the other ones pretty much the same. And then I wanted the candles to be to stay white, but I added a little bit of gray shading just to give it a little bit of shading and make it still look white with shading. So it's fun to do this kind of thing with the alcohol markers. And so there we have the shading. Now I thought that this cake needed a little bit of an anchor, so I used this zip strip, which is actually from the Forever Friends pet themed paper pack. And even though it is pet themed, it worked perfectly for this. That paper pack actually, just like the Christmas paper pack, there's lots of sheets in it that will work for other themes, not just pet themes, as in this case. So here's where I decided, okay, that background's just really not working for me. There's too much going on, and I decided to use it as kind of a border, but cover it up. And then I decided that that white needed a red border. So I used another sheet of cardstock, cut it down a little more, and then I hollowed out that red also, so I'm not wasting that big piece of red paper behind there. And I can get lots more use out of the candy apple. And here I am just assembling everything again, or starting to anyway. I decided to add more splatters. This time I started with black acrylic paint. I watered it down so that it will splatter better. And I did fewer splatters this time than when I did that original background. And I'm doing the black acrylic, and then I'm going to do the shimmer brush again as well, but just not as much. And then I also added some Kelly Green acrylic paint. And this is just regular acrylic paint watered down with a regular paintbrush, and it works like a charm. I really like using splatters and using different mediums to make them. There's so many different things you can splatter with. So now I'm going to assemble everything. Look at how cute those candles look. I just love how they turned out. There's so much you can do with just regular white die cuts, adding markers, color with markers or ink pads or sponge daubers or so many different things. So that was fun to do. I also found those glitter red embellishments off to the right from a compliments pack, also a Christmas compliments pack from, it was either last year or the year before. I think it was 2 years ago. And those are elements that could work for any time. The bows and the presents could work for birthday or Christmas. And then those asterisks go perfectly with this year's paper that I have in the background. So I think I ended up just adding one of those elements, but I pulled a bunch out just in case I changed my mind. The silver glitter stars are also from that compliments pack as well. I'm using the liquid glue to glue most of these things down because I like the freedom that it gives me in moving things around just slightly in case I need to kind of move it once I get it down. I used the regular tape runner for the candles because I didn't need to really move those around. But some of the other things, it's nice to be able to move around. And then I think everything else I used oh, no, not these. Putting those little tags in. I ended up putting them a little higher than original because I wanted that red tag to be separated from the red heart zip strip a little bit more, so it had a little bit more white space between them. I like using black in my layouts as sort of an extra pop. You wouldn't necessarily think to use black with all of these bright primary and secondary colors, but it really does help ground everything and make the colors stand out even more. It makes a nice accent. I really like using black splatters, and so I think the little bit of black accent pieces like the gift and the backgrounds of the photos and the glitter shimmer trim work really nicely together. It's just that little bit of pop that you need. I haven't glued all of the pages down together, and since I added the gesso and the mixed media, it made that background paper warp just a little bit, and so it was a little bit harder to get that red piece down, which you'll see in just a minute. More so because it was hollowed out, it's not as thick of a layer to put down. So when I should have put the white down on the red and then the red down, but it did end up, I was more worried about it getting straight on there, and it did end up straight. I snipped that little piece because there was a wrinkle and it helped it lay down more flat. Then when I set the white page on top, it helped everything to be a little bit more sturdy with that warped background, so it ended up being okay, but maybe you could learn from my mistake. So here's the finished layout again. I hope you enjoyed and that it gave you some ideas to use your holiday themed items for non-holiday use. Be sure to check out Erin's video. She's next in the hop, and I've got her video linked below where she'll show you some more ways to use holiday products in a non-holiday way. And then you can continue on this video collaboration hop and see everybody else's projects. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming hops or any of my upcoming projects. I hope that you enjoyed and have a great day.